Ever since Marvel star Jonathan Majors was arrested all the way back in March of this year, he's taken almost nothing but PR losses, massive L's all around. Even when you did think there's a story out there that might help him out, whether it's a big rumor about all the charges are being dropped, or no, it's actually his ex that's going to be charged, blah, blah, blah. None of that ever really came to fruition. It got to the point where we ended up seeing Jonathan Majors break up a staged fight just in order to get some good PR. But now, on the last day of his trial, he may have gotten the biggest win he's had since this entire thing went down. Jonathan Majors opts not to testify as defense rests in domestic violence trial. And it looks like today on Thursday, we're going to see closing arguments and probably jury deliberation. And honestly, based on what we've seen, I would be shocked if it took the jury that long to come back with a not guilty verdict. I just don't think there's really any evidence to support a conviction. Unfortunately for Jonathan Majors, there's been a lot of other evidence that's come out that's really painted him in a bad light, not necessarily for this specific incident, but for his entire relationship with this woman. We've seen some pretty fucked up text messages from a different incident back in September of 2022, where he's begging and threatening her not to go to the hospital after they had an altercation and she had a head injury because he was worried that he was going to get arrested. He threatened to kill himself if she actually went to the hospital. Very manipulative, disgusting behavior, but not related at all to the incident actually in question, so shouldn't really go towards him being convicted in any way. I covered all that in a separate video. You can go watch that. And then we also had the audio of him and her having an argument, which really has, again, nothing to do with what happened in March. It's just kind of setting up the kind of person Jonathan Majors is, where he talks about what a great man he is and needs a great woman standing behind him and, compares himself to these other big leaders in the black community. But yesterday is when we got the best PR thing that Jonathan Majors has had since the start of this entire thing, and it's security camera footage of what happened in the aftermath of the alleged incident in the car. Now, I think a lot of people maybe aren't quite familiar, and they think that this is the assault that they're talking about. Now, that's not exactly the case, and we'll break it down. But from a PR standpoint and in the courtroom, when you see the person who is alleged to have hit someone running away from her for blocks, that is always going to be good PR, and that this is a huge win for Jonathan Majors. Video shows Jonathan Majors being chased by Grace Jabari after alleged violent encounter. Now, what was alleged to have happened was that they're sitting in the back there. She sees a text message come in from a woman to his phone. She grabs his phone to try to see who it is, which she should not do, by the way. This is what I predicted. Like, initially, right after it happened, I said, it sounds like he might have got caught cheating. She tried to grab his phone. He tried to grab it back. It got rough. Maybe something happened. That was my guess from the days in the aftermath of this happening all the way back in March. That is what the official story from her side is at this point. And Jonathan Majors maybe twists her arm to get it. She says he hit him. We don't have any evidence of that at all. But this is the aftermath of that. They're outside the car after all this has gone down, and the first thing is Jonathan Majors picks her up and kind of throws her back into the car and tries to shove her into the car and then attempts to run away from her. Let's watch this. So you can see, picks her up off the ground, throws her in there, is trying to get her to stay in the car apparently. Maybe still wrestling for the phone. Who knows? But then they get out and Jonathan Majors tries to get away from her, runs away. She's trying to say, no, stay here. And he's gone. Jonathan Majors is like freaking a track star running away from Grace Jabari. She can't really catch up. So obviously people see this and say, how could someone like run after someone who had just hit them? And that's a great point, and that's why this went viral. Now, if her story is true, and we saw a text message coming from a girl and she wanted to see it, yeah, I could see her running after that. We've seen a lot of cases of people after horrific shit have been done to them, begging for someone to stay, begging for someone not to run away because they don't want to be alone. They don't want to be broken up with, whatever it may be. And we've even seen text message in the past that looks like they might have that type of relationship. But regardless, this is the biggest win Jonathan Majors could have possibly gotten, right? So now the entire internet is out there saying, wow, why is she running after the person who just allegedly hit her? And that's a great point. At the end of the day, I feel exactly the same way I did about this probably in March as I do now. I think she probably saw something on his phone. She probably tried to grab it, which she shouldn't have. He tried to get it back. There's nothing to prove or disprove that any actual violent shit happened. The only witness they have is the driver in the car who's employed by Jonathan Majors, who doesn't speak English, who says he didn't actually see anything. But based on what he heard, it sounded like she was doing more than he was. That's the testimony. So I just don't see any way that there's going to be a guilty conviction. I think Jonathan Majors going to get a not guilty verdict. But as I said, unfortunately, with a lot of the other stuff that's come out, I don't think people are going to be able to forget that. Those text messages between him and her, with him manipulating her and threatening her to not go to the hospital despite admitting that there was violence between them that caused her head injury. That's a terrible look for him in general, but certainly doesn't apply to this case, at least when it comes to getting a conviction. Would I be surprised if she made up this entire thing? No, I would not be surprised about that at all. Would I be surprised if it went down similar to how she described it happening after everything I've seen from the Jonathan Majors and her history of their relationship? No, I wouldn't be surprised by that either. So, but it does look, in my opinion, Jonathan Majors should not be found guilty of this based on the evidence they've presented in court. And I do think he's going to get a not guilty verdict, which should be a huge weight off his shoulders. What will happen in the future for him in Marvel Cinematic Universe with all the stuff that's now come out, who knows? Either way, a massive PR win for Jonathan Majors yesterday at trial. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.